Hello, everyone. It's John Cash Philippi with Gaming and Leisure Voice. I am here with the ever talented Andrew Cardno, the owner and CEO of QCI. And we have a great topic today. But before
I'm
we
the
get
CTO.
CTO, excuse me, you're absolutely right, CTO. But before we get further into the conversation, are fortunate to have sponsors for Gaming and Leisure Voice. So let's hear from them. Agilis helps the gaming industry realize its full potential through exceptional technology that goes beyond what other tech providers have trained hospitality to expect. We build our state-of-the-art hospitality-focused software for continuous innovation, industry-leading data sharing, maximum flexibility for best-of-breed performance, and smooth ecosystem integration, and an always learning guest profile engine so you can create personal experiences. It's time for hospitality to go beyond with technology from Agilicis. And now we're back. Andrew, for the, I don't know, four people on the planet that don't know who you are,
Thank
why
you.
don't you give everybody a little rundown on who you are, what you do, and the fact that you're the CTO and not CEO of QCI?
Well, I'm Andrew Cardno. I'm a data scientist, and I have been doing data science in the casino resort space for about 25 years. I've written 12 books. I have two Smithsonian laureates. I have a couple of hundred patents that I've written, and I've worked with a good portion, and I don't know the number. I think it's close to 70% of the casinos in North America on their data activation over that 25-year period.
Wow, Andrew, what's holding you back? I just,
Not much. It's kind of funny. It's like I look around at the people that were there at the start, and this data activation business is really, really hard, right? And people who haven't been in it don't really appreciate how hard it is. And they're all gone, right? I'm like the last one standing. I'm like, man, I must be I'm a sucker for punishment or something. I don't know.
well, you're definitely great at what you do.
Well, thank you.
I can attest to that. You've been uh, a great partner for me at several properties I've worked for. So
Thank you.
it's been great getting to know you over the years.
Thank you.
Um, but everyone knows QCI is a data activation company, and everyone knows that about you. But you have, oddly enough, no one knows about your COO.
So, well, that's because he's not very vocal.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about him?
So, our COO, well, I guess you look back and you say, let's talk about this thing that happened in 2023, right at the start, like end of 22, 23, when OpenAI came out with these amazing new models that could basically behave like people. And um, the best characteristic that I've come up with them is they're a lot like Spock from Star Trek. They're pretty emotionless, right? Although they can pretend, right? Um, but they really are able to behave like people, and so we got my business partner and I, Ralph and I, we stopped the company at the start of 23 and said, we've got to refocus because this is the new normal, right? We've just had a technology sea change completely. It's not the same world. Everything is about to change. And at least that's what I said to Ralph. And Ralph's like, yeah, Andrew, you say that to me quite often. Then he went and looked at it. He's like, actually, this time I agree with you. And we really did. And the very first thing we started building was co-pilots, right? And we actually released one early in 23. And these are kind of tools that sit next to the person and help in every software company, including us. Everyone does them, right? So it's like, okay, we're doing co-pilots. And I guess we were early at co-pilots. How's that? But we quickly realized that co-pilots are very stressful because all they're really saying to somebody is, now you can do even more work. Great. I'm already overworked, right? You just want me to And by the way, not by a small amount. Where the expectations are you're going to double your output. Like, really? You just want me to double my output? Like that's or more, right? They need very high expectations around this tooling. And we took a step back and we were like, okay, hold on. These things behave like people. Can't they be people in our organization? And that's a bold statement. It's like, oh, we're going to replace people. Well, no, okay, but they can be people. All right, and and that's where Jarvis emerged. And for us,
I
Jarvis
love that
is
name, by the way. The fact that you named him Jarvis.
yeah,
That's
that's an internal name we use. Just for ourselves internally, we call him Jarvis. Um, and he is our COO. And you say, well, what is Jarvis? And Jarvis is really, really two things, and it's really quite important. The first thing is there is a lot of workflow that you need to run a software business at our kind of scale, right? We're serving uh, well, 500 locations. We're operating in 17 countries. We have 250 resorts installed. We're installing a new one every week, right? I think we we're running something like 20 concurrent projects, right? And we needed, and it's just an enormous amount of activity. Well, we needed someone to manage that. And so Jarvis came along, and that's his job. He needs their workflows in place to do that. So he has project management capabilities. He has tasking capabilities. He has meeting take capabilities. He has product backlog capabilities, all as a workflow. And then the generative intelligence sits over that or next to that and can see all this activity. So we've got the whole company. And it's kind of crazy, we've replaced email internally. This is crazy big, right? Like you think email is ubiquitous. We use it for everything, but not at QCI. If you want someone to do something, you send them a finish, and Jarvis is a part of that process. He can see what's going on. He's engaged with it because now you've got this task that has to be completed by the end of the day. So Jarvis, we have him on our website. We characterize him as a little cat. It's a little bit of an internal joke, but I think it's because my business partner, who's the actual CEO, likes cats. I also like cats, by the way, but he really likes cats, and so he's a little orange cat, and he's been remarkably successful. What he's done for us is he's brought down the stress levels because he manages things for you. He takes care of stuff. He organizes things, and he's like Spock. He's very dispassionate about it. He just does things. He's not really. He's not. I mean, you could tell him to be judgmental, but otherwise he won't. He would just do his job, right? There's no politics with him, if that makes sense. So that's Jarvis. Um, we have ideas about doing other things with Jarvis, but I'll put it at that. That's what he is. And gosh, what a success for us, right? Like he's really been the enabler of our growth.
I mean, that's absolutely amazing. I mean, some of the things he can do. Now, not only is Jarvis, I mean, Jarvis uses Simulacra AI, as and tell me if I pronounce it
Right,
wrong. And you actually coined a phrase using called Chatalytics as part of that, and you've given it to the QCI customers as well.
right.
Uh,
That's
can,
right.
can you explain that relationship?
Yeah. Okay. So I can. So there's this co-pilot model, which we also do, and the co-pilot sort of. So I find them kind of annoying on some of places. Like I'm trying to type an email and say, type this, type this, type this. You're like, just slow down. Let me type my email, right? So that's what they're doing. That's the co-pilot sitting next to you all the time, right? Well, a simulacra is different. Simulacra is a representation of a person, like Jarvis is running our business, and um, and so we actually set out to build a new simulacra at QCI that was an analyst. And so my business partner Ralph and I trained this agent, and we're busy teaching him how to answer business questions. And this is this over here. Where am I? This is my Ralph and my 12th book. That's actually over here. Oh, this is hard to get it. Oh,
Yep.
here we go. That one. That's the first one. That's the 12th one. And the 12th one is a compendium of all these books. So and actually it's really incredible, but OpenAI, here's a copy of all these books according to OpenAI, which is not quite sure how they got there because I didn't put them there, but he does. And so he has all this knowledge. Well, and I'm not quite sure how, but when we trained this simulacra, which we call Chatalytics, and we call Chatalytics.com, when we trained him, we were teaching him how to answer business questions, the kinds of questions that we would get given to us. Now, really hard questions that some CEO would ask, tell me about my business, or what's trending up or down, or what should I do with my marketing programs? Very kind of vague business-like questions that as an analyst, I'm often challenged with, right? Well, the first thing you have to do is when you're tackling a question like that is, well, what is my approach to even answering that question, right? Like, you're not asking me to build a report with these specifics. You're actually asking me a business question. Where do you start? Well, that's an extremely difficult problem to solve for, having I have to answer that question. What should I do in my business? Who should I hire? You know, what 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 marketing program should I run? What should my hosts do? What games should I buy? That kind of thing, right? These are very hard questions. Well, after we finished training him, what we'd realized is that we'd kind of captured how Ralph and I answer those questions. So he's become it's really crazy. He's like a copy of us. And so now, like, just kind of, a little scary, but okay. So he's a copy of us. So now anyone who's using Chatlytics sort of has Andrew Cardno to answer any question on business. And I challenge him all the time. Like, we ask something really hard question. I really try to see how good he is. And it's like, boy, when I look at the results, I'm like, yeah, that's a really clever answer. I've been learning from him. But our job now is to teach him. So we're now teaching this agent how to get better and better and better so that he can be your analyst. And I don't know where this ends up, right? But now, any organization that wants to have someone with 25 years of intense business experience working in this industry, answering all manner of different questions, that's now available in a generative intelligence. Like, wow. Like, my mind explodes when I think about that. Like, you can do that? Really? Yeah, we did that. Now, it was a bit of a fluke because we didn't realize we were training them to be like us. We were just teaching them how to tackle the questions, right?
You finally cracked the clone code.
Well, we actually, I guess that's right. We did. We cloned ourselves. Yeah. Brain in a jar. Yeah.
Well, in the world of s- your type of AI, the simulacra AI, and for a lot of times the answers precede the questions. And that all I can say is with that happening, how does that affect you, affect Jarvis in its thought process?
You really, when you think about what, that I always like to think about science fiction because I'm a complete science fiction crazy person. And one of my favorite shows, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and the question, the life, the universe, and everything, right? Like, what is the question? The answer, of course, is 42, but that's according to the book, which is a kind of a comedy. And
Yeah.
and what they discovered, it was easy to get the answer, but the question was harder. So now, and that's the remarkable thing that's happened with generative intelligence. It can take a complex business problem and translate it into the right business question to ask and then answer it. And that's a step that we couldn't take before. So think about, someone saying, give me a forecast of my business. Okay, they asked that question. All right. Well, as an analyst, I have to think, okay, hold on. Well, he's asked me for a forecast. Should I use 3 months or 6 months, or is it year over year? What am I going to do here, right? Like, I'm having all sorts of discussions or thought processes that are happening about how to tackle that business challenge with a real technical question, right? Because that's not a question you can just answer with a computer, right? You've got to translate it into something that's answerable. And that cognitive load with humans in the past, the cognitive load of what is the actual technical question we're going to ask, that's now been handled by AI. So people will often come to me and they'll say, "Oh, I need to know what my 1,000+ players are doing." Sure, we could show you that. Then I say, "Well, what's the actual business problem you're trying to solve?" Oh, I need to understand if there's, what's happening with my high value guests. Oh, okay. Well, let's ask that question and let the cognitive processing of generative intelligence figure out an even more sophisticated answer. And we're just not used to that yet. Like that's a big step.
Well, I know that my initially when we were talking about this show, we talked about different questions and things like that, and I written down a question that uh, if our sales increase by 50% this year over last year's sales, will I need to hire more staff, and what positions will I need to support those sales? It sounds to me like that would be the easiest question in the world for Jarvis to answer.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because it's
So
not business like overall goal business involved.
it's a business problem, right? It's not a technical question, right? I want to grow my business by 50%. What should I do? Well, he can he has the knowledge to do that, which is just extraordinary if you think about it, right? The cognitive load in the past as an analyst, I would have run away and um, you know, dug in and thought about that question and looked at the data in all sorts of different ways and come back with an answer or an analysis. Now that bit, Jarvis can do that. And it is it is a very big shift in how humans interact with the world. I like if you think about you think about computer on Star Trek, right? Computer, do this. Well, that's really what it is. You just talk to these things. They understand and conceptualize what you're looking to do and figure it out for you. They answer the questions for you. Like, oh, you should do this or that. Or like even calculate probabilities and things like that. Like it is a completely different way of managing the world. And that's why they are, I think, the simulacra model is is where it's going to end up, right? Where these things are actually taking on roles with an organization, and when we have to teach them, right, and put boxes around, they manage them. How do you manage? How do we manage Jarvis? I mean,
I'm
what do we
surprised you
do
didn't
when he
call it Spock.
misbehaves, right? I mean, seriously, like, what do we do? I mean, he makes a mistake. Like, you know, you got to figure out how to adjust him, right?
Yeah, no. So we're fortunate enough here on Gaming Leisure Voice to have two sponsors. So let's get back to this in just a second, but first let's hear from our second sponsor. With over 50 years of global experience, BPOS delivers comprehensive point-of-sale solutions tailored for casinos, powered by a robust enterprise platform with all the integrations you need, from player rewards, PMS, and camera systems to business intelligence and more. BPOS seamlessly connects your operations. Our solutions cover point-of-sale systems, online ordering, self-serve kiosk, mobile ordering, pay-at-table options, QR code ordering, KDS, inventory management, enterprise reporting, and beyond. Backed by exceptional US-based customer service and support, we ensure your casino's operations run smoothly and efficiently. Welcome back, Andrew. So let's
Thank you.
talk about some of the history of AI. I mean, we when we were setting up, we were talking about the amount of computing that was being built to support AI, and then all of a sudden that changed.
That's what I didn't want. This is not even history. This is like trauma.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So the short history of AI, maybe, and what it was. So when I studied AI at college, we had a definition. It was to solve hard computer problems, problems that couldn't be solved with simple logic, like if-then statements or something like that. And and oftentimes, problems that can't be solved exactly, right? And all sorts of algorithms that people came up with, right? And um, and so to simplify the history, right? There were these things called neural networks, which fell into disfavor until 2012. And in 2012, there was a competition between the very, very best speech recognition people in the whole world, right? All came together to see who could build the best speech recognition. And this neural network driven program came along and just beat everybody after, I don't in unthinkable amounts of R&D dollars and incredibly brilliant computer scientists working for decades to build the best speech recognition. And this little neural network model came along and beat them using graphic processing units, GPUs for gamers computers, right? They figured out how to get parallelism and sort of the combination of the compute and everything else. And then in 20, I think 15, the same thing happened with computer vision, right? It came along, they go, oh, we can use neural networks. And all of a sudden, neural networks. And what are neural networks? Neural networks are an incredibly simple thing that we have in our brain. We just have a lot of them. But we now simulate them in computers. So we've essentially done what we've done is humanity has basically copied how brains work and put it into a computer. And the remarkable thing about them is we no longer understand how they work. They just work, much like a brain, right? We can make them do things, but we don't exactly know why, which is just kind of funny, right? Whereas the old algorithms, we could. Like we could always say, oh, this is the computational path it took. Now we can't. We don't know what's going on, right? It just pops out an answer. So, in 2017, there was a secret leak that Google invented this thing that was like intelligent. And then nothing until 2022. Sam Altman and OpenAI came out with an implementation of what Google had built and the enormous amount of compute. And their theory was, and what they saw is that more and more and more compute they built, the better these models get, the more and more human-like or thinking-like it gets. And I was as late as January of this year, I was listening to a podcast by one of the CEOs of one of these companies, and oh my goodness, and he was saying, oh, the answer is more compute. And there was these huge, and Nvidia stock was going through the roof because that's where all the compute was coming from, and they were building all these huge computer centers, and everyone was getting really worried about running out of electricity, which we probably should be because these things use massive amounts of electricity. And then, like, it's this Chinese company DeepSeek, I think if I got the name right, DeepSeek comes out in January with something that'll run on a Mac and is basically as good. And it just completely blew up the whole theory. So Nvidia stock went crashed and incredibly different world now. So now we're going, well, hold on, we can run these things on a mobile device. Like, yeah, that's going to happen. It already is happening. So the size of the model, everybody thought that it was going to be this massive compute center, and that ended. Doesn't change the capability. We've made thinking. We've made a kind of thinking machine. They're not. People say, "Oh, are they truly artificial intelligence, or are they really thinking?" You can have all these debates. The reality is, they really are capable of taking on cognitive load of humans in a way that computers just could not do before. And now that where we can put them is supposedly all over the place, right? Like and what an extraordinary world we're living in, where overnight these massive software companies like the companies like Microsoft and Google, all of it, and OpenAI, these massive companies all have to stop and pivot in January because some little startup comes up with something new. Like, wow, like this is a moment of tech change that we haven't experienced. The world hasn't experienced this for 20 years, where everything is just changing. No one knows what's going to happen. We just know one thing, that it's like a burning platform. Your business is going to change. You've got to move. The question is, who's right, who's going the right direction. Nobody knows right now because it's like, it's like give me the people who are doing the best job of this. It's like, yeah, there's not really that much of a track record out there. This technology's like barely 2 years old, right? Come on, and that world we're not used to that anymore, that speed of technology change. We're used to incremental, I think. The last 20 years has been very incremental, like better phones, better Windows operating system, better compute, better graphics, right? But come along with something, say, oh, now let's just have another sea change. It's like, I think the last big sea change, everyone used to communicate with fax machines, right? Then along came email. Like, boom, blew everything up. Well, nobody knew that the biggest change from the internet was going to be email, right? Uh, okay, nobody knew that, right? Who would have guessed that in, I don't know, what was it, 1990? Who would have guessed that email would probably be the biggest change that the internet would bring about, right?
Yeah,
Yet
I think
today
we
we
were
all
all
just
on
use it.
bulletin boards back then.
Bulletin boards, is that what it was? Yeah, okay. But, and fax machines, right?
Yeah.
So this is a change that big from fax to email, from bulletin boards to the World Wide Web, right? Like there's a change that big in a period of extraordinary instability where every role of every human, every job is going to change. And like sometimes I think, gosh, it would be nice if this hadn't happened, right? Sometimes I think that, like oh, but but that the barn doors are open,
Yeah.
the horses are scattered into the mountains. You've got companies all over the world inventing new stuff here. This is the new reality, and you got to get ready to change, right? Everyone has to do something.
Yeah, no, if you're not on this, if you're either going to get run over by this train or hop on it, one or the other. I mean, that's something we've been saying for the last couple of years. And so, Andrew, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, John.
I mean, do you have any thoughts you'd like to, share with everyone before we sign off?
It's time to take a look and move. You have to move now, right? Decision to do nothing and to operate your business the way you were operating it is a very big decision. And this is really hard because now there's there's no proven 5 companies you can go and look at who've done this, but you have to move, right? And that's dramatic. The industry has to move. If the industry today sits still, others are going to run past us. Because the world is going to change, is changed, has changed completely, and we're just coming to terms with it. So it's a period where change is now the new norm for survival, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
No decision is a decision,
no decision is a
basically.
very big decision right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's great. And thank you, Andrew, for introducing us to Jarvis. That's just amazing
Oh
what
yeah,
you've
thank
done over
you.
there.
Yeah.
And I look forward to talking to you some more about it.
Okay, thank you, John.
Thank you.